Every law degree opens lots of doors for you, but it's very important for you to know which door you must pass through. You can be a litigation lawyer, you can be a corporate lawyer, you can start a practice of your own, you can work on public interest litigation or for public social good only, or you can be an arbitrator. And by the way, of late, a lot of international opportunities also opened up because world is now a global market. So a lot of arbitration happens, a lot of international law understanding also happens. Which career path should you choose is something that's very important for you, and which is what we're going to speak to experts in this particular video. And the very important question that keeps coming back to is, what is the career path after LLB? Do you do LLB, you join a firm, or it can be a law firm or a company and all, but at some point in time you'll also do an LLM. So can you please tell me or tell the students, what is the kind of career path after LLB, after internship, after getting working somewhere? Is LLM mandatory? Is LLM necessary? And what it means for the student in terms of creating that career path of when they will be able to actually reach their peak?
So I think there are many, I think law is very, very interesting and dynamic. Like there are many career options available. So for starters, litigation is one of the most exciting options. I personally I stayed in litigation only for 3 years. I really enjoyed doing it. I think litigation is the primary and the most important profession because we are a justice profession. So everything matters, every client matters, every courtroom argument matters. So I think that's really important. Then there is corporate law, of course, and there are two kinds of corporate law options. One is with a firm, a law firm, and the other one is with an in-house counsel practice, which is both has its own advantages and disadvantages and are quite flourishing. Then there is human rights law. Practice, which is either with an individual lawyer who's doing a lot of human rights matters, or with a firm like Lawyers Collective or Human Rights Law Network and Sati and things, and organizations such as these. Then there is an international human rights career where you work with, say, ICRC or UN. So that's the other way that you can imagine your legal career. Then there is legal academia and research, which is really picked up in the last decade or more. And a lot of people are now interested in legal academia and research, which is a really interesting career option as well. So I think these are the large sort of careers that one can think of. But now there are a lot of other alternative career options as well. For example, the legal tech or working as entrepreneur. I mean, there are those career options as well. I know lawyers who have actually done law and quit and are doing other things. So I think the law degree, of course, empowers you, but one doesn't have to stay with it. And there are a lot of my former students who have ventured into other sort of activities such as photography or music. So I think, so those are the unconventional parts, right? But they're not part of the legal career, but you can do something else as well. There's a student of mine who's doing sports law. There are very few firms in India that's doing sports law. We have very good faculty on sports law. So it's very interesting. And there's legal journalism, which is really inviting and interesting. So I think there are a lot of options and very diverse.
What are the specialization options within law that students have? And how do they go about choosing the specialization?
I think this generation of law students are making law a super specialized field. But I think I want to take a very contrarian opinion here. I think the basics of law doesn't emerge from any specialization. If you want to pursue, be it cyber law or corporate law, or for that matter even artificial intelligence and law, or for that matter even law and technology, it becomes very important that they build the essence of jurisprudence, the essence of contract law. The foundations of law are not changing, right? So yes, if a student ought to pick a specialization, there are one or two important factors that you need to consider. One, what is the career option that this specialization is eventually going to lead to? Two, if he's going to choose this specialization, apart from the career options, what are the other research interests that he can develop? I think today legal profession is changing. Not all specializations are going to lead to a similar compensation or similar career opportunities. So it is very important that this generation of students understand that whenever you are choosing a specialization, you need to have a basic research interest for that specialization. Because one, not the entire policy is evolved around this specialization. Two, even if the policy is evolved, there might not be a practice side for these specializations. So it is very important for him to understand, if I'm choosing a specialization, am I choosing it because I'm interested in it, or there are career opportunities connected to it?
Thank you so much for that response, sir. Now, the other thing that's very important for the student to know is the legacy of the institution and the alumni network it creates because of the legacy of the institution. Some colleges have a lot of, are having a lot of people who are passing out of the college, but they might not have great practices outside. And some colleges have fantastic alumni networks where wherever they go, whatever they do, there is always a connection that is established between the alumni, because of which they actually handhold each other and help each other. So can you tell me the importance of an alumni network in a law college?
So I believe it's very, very important. And some of the law schools, a lot of students get jobs, get internships simply because their alumni are placed in good firms, good places, and they help their juniors. So in our law school also there is a similar situation. Alumni who are based in various firms, companies, organizations, they help their junior students to secure internships and jobs. And it's important for a student or parent to look at the alumni network, and also it's very easy actually in today's time when information can be gathered even from the social media profiles like LinkedIn, or even at the law firm websites you can find the academic background of the associates and lawyers who are working there. So a student should be careful about that. And good law schools are always known for having good alumni networks.
Now, a lot of students obviously, sir, need to understand what kind of placements, because their immediate need is of course the financial stability that they bring to the family. So to that extent, obviously they are looking for placements also. Now, a lot of them might not want to become lawyers immediately, but they're looking at being employed in one of the companies, one of the corporates, one of the law firms that you have. So what kind of compensation should a student expect if they were to join a law college, and how do they actually start figuring out whether the compensation exists, and what kind of companies actually, what kind of, it can be law firms or companies or whatever, what kind of institutions come for placement in a law college, a good law college rather?
So the concept of ROI, or return on investment, I believe is not proper for legal profession, or for that matter any profession, be it medicine or architecture or chartered accountancy, any profession. Because what you invest in your education is actually for your life. You may end up becoming the Chief Justice of the country, or Judge of the High Court, or Advocate General, or Attorney General, or Solicitor General of the country with the same law degree with which you graduated. So the first job should not be a criteria. And I believe law schools which are having a strong career services department, if you are looking for jobs, if you are looking for say a law firm placement or a corporate placement after your law school, you should look for law schools having a strong career development and placement divisions, or what we call Office of Career Services. In the range of 10 lakh to 23, 24 lakh is what the leading law firms, the good law firms, pay to a fresher in good law schools. Corporate could be a little lesser, but even the good companies, like some of them who recruit from Jindal, ICICI Bank or HDFC Bank or similar kind of, or even Jindal Steel for that matter. So the packages are always exact, we have to find out from the organizations, but it's a good salary comparable to the law firms.
Thank you so much for that. There is obviously a big gap between what is taught in the law college and the job that the student is about to take up. It can be as a lawyer or outside working in a company or those kind of things. So can you tell me what is the big gap that you suggest is there, and how the students must prepare to negate that whole thing?
I think that's when that's where the internship should come. Internship should make sure they show them the real reality of practicing law. Practicing law is not as glamorous as what we see some of the senior advocates doing it in Supreme Court is after many years of practice of law. But I think when you push internships very early in the day and expose them to trial court advocacy, I think that is very, very, very important. Many of the senior counsels are still dependent on the people who have argued their arguments in trial court, because the facts get formulated there, the questions of law get formulated there, and then it eventually goes to High Court and Supreme Court. So I think advocacy and skills of lawyering at the lower court is very, very, very important, and it is what makes a lawyer a very successful lawyer going forward. At the same time, collecting of evidence, cross-examination, all these things are very, very important aspects. So when you introduce them the moot court, when you introduce them advocacy skills, and when you introduce them in internship at the very young, to a young law student, I think that is when he is going to develop and understand what are the real, ideas of legal education, legal profession, and I think that is what will make him a strong lawyer going forward. Internships, as you rightly said, is important. I think, secondly, the gap is also, Mahesh, we do not have practice-based approach. We do not bring people who are practicing in courts to come and teach students real procedural law. Those days, those things are very, very important. It is not just faculty members teaching. If I was a faculty who was teaching CPC, I should be getting some practitioners who are practicing in the court to tell the real aspects of civil procedure court. Similarly, corporate partners should be coming and telling litigation of practice-based approach in corporate law. So I think the amalgamation of bringing the practitioners into curriculum will take the students closer to the reality. And if you're going to keep these two pockets separate, then the student is going to get a jolt when he graduates from the law and goes into practice where there is going to be a gap.
So thank you so much. Now we all know that law is a very glorified profession after a point in time, because students obviously see lawyers fighting in Supreme Courts and in reels and social media. They keep seeing how lawyers have really taken on some of the criminals of this country, and they get inspired or motivated to become a lawyer. But we all know realistically that's not how it works immediately. At least it might take 20, 30, 40 years of work before you actually achieve that kind of a status. So can you tell me one realistic advice that you would want to give to the student when they're trying to choose law as a career path or as a profession? Because it's very important for them to ground them in terms of real realities around of what they should be expecting when they take up this career path.
I think if you're in 11th and 12th and you're thinking of entering law, right now you're thinking of doing those entrance exams, I would say that don't worry so much about what your career will look like. It's really 5 years away. I think you should be worrying about what your 5 years will look like in terms of learning and unlearning. And I would just say that read a lot of fiction, watch a lot of films. I think they really form a fundamental part of your growth as a student of law. And I think when you enter the law school eventually, you take every opportunity to read and engage. I think don't be so anxious about what you will do 5 years from now, because eventually that will work out. I think what you should be interested in is to sort of center the joy of learning. So focus on the learning, the education, and I think that's when it becomes really important. And law schools are not just about legal education. Law schools are about strong friendships that you form. It's about the networks that you make. It's about the mentorship that you get from your faculty, the long-term relationships you end up having with your faculty, a good book that you've read that you'll never forget in your life, a good sport you played that you didn't know that you could play. I think law school is so much more than just like legal education. And I wouldn't worry so much about it. So if you're students in 11th and 12th thinking about doing law, ask yourself why you want to be a lawyer. I think it's a very important question, because I feel that if you don't love law or enjoy the idea of being a lawyer, it's very hard to survive the profession, especially litigation. And so you have to love the idea of law. And I think if you do that, you'll be okay. I think that law school is really exciting. You do so much of learning and unlearning. I think so I think we should be focusing on the journey and on the destination, because you'll get there once you enjoy the journey.
Now it's very important for students to understand that you don't need to be very decided of what you want to be 5 years now. You're just entering the law college. You please explore what happens in the law college. Start learning in the law college. At some point in time in year 2, year 3, you'll start finding your own interest of what you want to be and what you don't want to be. And that is what we try to explain through all the experts who've spoken in this particular video, because very, very important for you to know that not every decision is taken at a very, very young age. You actually start learning the things, you start exploring the things, then you find your own interest, and that's how you go about making those choices, which is what is very important for you, and we try to explain in this particular video.